Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
After Guam, si Rod's Gimpap introducing the 2020 Toyota Tacoma Access Cab T-Max. Este na mês, gasto mo yung promo ng United Airlines, $1,000 United vouchers. After nananga, sabik sa sating mamanono si Tacoma, Guam, Tacoma territory. Sexy Rod's ginagi Atkins Pro Toyota, 671-788-2584. Alumbray, go si Rod's, sinanagan sa 671-788-2584. After nananga, let's go places.
Good morning, Micronesia. I'm Troy Torres. Welcome to our studios here in Tumon, Guam. It's been quite a while since we've been live. Today is Monday, March 9, 2020. Thank you for joining us for just some of the news that we have for you today. The rest of the news we'll come back to you tonight in our nightly show, and Johnny will be able to join us. There's a situation apparently happening at FB Leon Guerrero Middle School right now. We're waiting for news We're waiting for some information from the Department of Education. Superintendent John Fernandez is off island right now, so we're waiting for Board Member Mark Mendiola and Board Chairwoman Maria Gutierrez, and I believe Acting Superintendent Joe Sanchez, to provide some information about what's going on. Johnny's son actually is a student there, and what she's telling us is that the school is in lockdown for whatever reason. So hopefully by the time this newscast rolls through, we'll have some information to provide, especially to the parents of FBLG middle school students. The first thing I wanted to talk about this morning is a decision by the Civil Service Commission over a former, now reinstated Port Authority of Guam. His name is Ken Yoshida. On March 3rd, the Civil Service Commission transmitted through the legislature regarding Yoshida's 23 years ago and reinstatement to his job. And you can go ahead and cast it. So here's the transmittal on March 4th. Here is the judgment of dismissal by the Board of Commissioners of the Civil Service Commission, signed by its members. And what they're saying is that Ken Yoshida, who 3 years ago was fired by Joe Man Brown, the former general manager of the seaport, and sometimes known to whale around SeaWorld and swim over to Guam, fired Ken Yoshida, and according to this settlement agreement, did not fire him for any good reason. Now, this doesn't go into the situation that they were involved in 3 years ago or what happened to Ken Yoshida 3 years ago, but this is just part and parcel to an era of political witch hunts against people in the Calvo administration who went after a bunch of people, not just the Port 7, but other employees who did not match the political colors that the Calvo administration subscribed to. Ken Yoshida was one of them. And as a result of Ms. Brown and former port management's treatment of people like Ken Yoshida is going to get back pay. Let's see, it says here, they're going to rescind the adverse action or the firing. He's going to be reinstated as an equipment operator 2 at the transportation division, earning $21.75 per hour. He's going to be given back all benefits, rights, privileges, obligations, duties, and responsibilities related to that employment. And he'll be reinstated effective March 16 or soonest practicable thereafter. Employee and management agree that he'll be compensated for the full 3 years salary as though he was never, ever let go. As of the date of this agreement, back wages are calculated to be $115,233.60. This is what happens when bad management make bad decisions. It's the ratepayers that have to suffer, but the ratepayer suffering is nothing compared to what Ken Yoshida had to suffer throughout these 3 years because of bad management decisions. Management shall deduct from back wages and make payment to the retirement fund. So this is a whole other quagmire that you get into. You have to go back in time and redo everything regarding remittances to the retirement fund as though nothing ever happened, which is, of course, a mathematical feat in itself. The payment of all applicable taxes and withholding. Back wages shall be payable in 3 installments, $38,027.09 on March 16, the same amount on June 30, and $39,179.42 on or before February 7, 2021. Management agrees any payment deferred shall become immediately due and payable to employee upon termination of employee or resignation by employee. Management shall restore to employee credit for 5 years annual leave that employee would have accrued had he remained in employment at the Port Authority. They shall restore credit for 5 years. Sick leave, look at all this. So this is justice for Ken Yoshida. And this is the Civil Service Commission telling the Port Authority of Guam. And you know, justice can be slow sometimes, but it must be sweet for Ken Yoshida. That now the Civil Service Commission has been able to say, you guys at the port messed up. What you did to Ken Yoshida was bad. It was against the law, and he needs to be made whole again. Now, for whatever, the name Ken Yoshida sounds so familiar to me, and I probably should have did some research before speaking about this, but I'm almost certain that there was a news story about this firing happening. And I'm almost certain that the Calvo administration, through Joanne Brown and her surrogates over at the seaport and seaport management, raked him over the coals and impugned his integrity for whatever this is. But now the Civil Service Commission is coming back and saying, nope, can't do that, Port Authority. Joanne was wrong. Give her a ticket back to SeaWorld and let's be done with this and dispense with justice as it should be dispensed. So congratulations to Ken Yoshida over the seaport. This morning, Governor Ralph Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, as well as the governor's press secretary, Kevin Bautista, and Secretary of Finance, David Atzelik Jr. were on KKMP Saipan Radio with their hosts discussing the coronavirus and the situation with the economy in the CNMI and also the Commonwealth government's finances. And what they did discuss was a lot of data, a lot of numbers, including hotel occupancy, budget figures, which conflicted with budget figures the governor released last week in an interview with the Mariana's Variety. Budget figures, he did not go into the cash situation of the government. Neither did Secretary Atzelik. They made some broad strokes about cash flow, but they never expressed what cash flow actually looks like in the Commonwealth government. They went over hotel occupancy, the tax revenue that's coming in. As of the last report that they're doing, the governor talks about how they're monitoring the situation every single day, how he is in close contact and collaboration with leaders throughout the government of the Commonwealth, including the legislature. Also his weekly briefings with Vice President Mike Pence about the coronavirus situation and how it's affecting the economy of the CNMI and government finances. There was a whole lot of information that the governor and the lieutenant governor provided this morning. And the recurring theme of their discussion was, by the end of this week, we're going to make a decision about what more needs to be done beyond the 64 hours. So recently, the Torres administration rolled out a second austerity program. Well, for the public school system, it was just a continuing austerity program that had expanded. But for the rest of the government of the Commonwealth, it was a second round of austerity, which essentially saw the cutting of work hours by 20% for Commonwealth government employees, which in itself was something of a tragedy for those employees. The governor went out to the banks in the Commonwealth and said, hey, can you please understand the situation that our people are going through and defer, foreclosures, what do you call that thing? Repossessions and things like that. Please help to understand the situation that our people are going through right now, that they cannot, for the time being, make payments on loans and stuff like that. So the lieutenant governor, one who came out and said, it was between this 64 hours, this downward departure in hours, and keeping the hours at 80 hours and instead laying people off. So we decided to lay people off instead. And he tried to make people understand in this interview that if government employees and their dependents are worried about the 64 hours, imagine what the private sector employees are going through, especially in the hotels, who are being let go because there just isn't enough money going around. It was an interesting interview. You can find that on KKMP Saipan Radio. They have a Facebook page. You can find them on TuneIn Radio as well. But I think they lasted enough on the air. You can hear everything that they talked about. And there were two really big goals from this, aside from the entire theme of by the end of this week, they're going to be able to make decisions. This is the start of a roadshow announcement at the end of the week about what more in austerity is going to happen. Basically, an extended austerity program, expanded program. They brought up the word lay a few times, and this is just me that we're probably going to hear more about that government. This sounds like by the Torres administration to help them come to terms with the dire situation, the dire financial situation, based off of the is not letting up. So that was one where the governor says, not whether the 64 hours. That was one takeaway that was interesting. The governor point blank, our salaries are going to be cut. So I sent a message to Kevin Bautista, the governor's communications director, asking for more details about that, because when the governor said our salaries will be cut, referring to himself, and then he was referring also to the members of his cabinet, very highly paid, the Commonwealth government. It seems like that many people would be interested, who have been clamoring for what happened from the top down and bottom up. The members of this, right? Do you have your microphone?